guys? So today we're going to be going through basically how I went from not even benching 45 pounds all the way up to a 405 bench just 8 years later. I know that seems like a long ass fucking time, but in the grand scheme of life, it's really not that long. I was 13, 14 years old. Back in 8th grade, we got into the weight room, and I was not into physical activity at all, but I played football. I was a horrible athlete, very uncoordinated, but I was 100 pounds flat, maybe 90 pounds at that time, probably 5'2". So the high school coaching staff brought basically all us 8th graders to the weight room at the high school and wanted us to basically get our feet wet and learn all the basic movements. I will never forget that feeling or the memory of that day. We went around from station to station, maybe a hex bar deadlift to a barbell bench to a barbell back squat, and basically they're just assessing what we can do and trying to teach us the ropes. Some of their top varsity guys at each station sort of helping coach each guy through it. We get to that barbell bench station, and I am the only one on my entire team who gets that 45. We start with just the bar, mind you. We start with just the bar. I'm the only one on my entire football team who cannot press it off my chest. Unrack the bar, I bring it down to my chest. I just can't get it up. I'm literally helpless. I cannot even move it a modicum of an inch off my chest. That feeling of just being helpless, and especially as a male, that feeling of just being a victim, you cannot impact the world around you. You're just a victim to other people. You accept their reality. You don't get to create your own. It's a horrible feeling. Hearing your closest friends and all your teammates at the time laughing at you as you're unable to lift this thing off that can kill you off your chest. Horrible feeling. So that really motivated me for a long time, and even to this day I still use it. Made fun of by my peers at that time for not being able to bench the bar. In summertime, they got us into the weight room 2 to 3 times a week, just as football players in a varsity program. Full body-ish, we'd be still doing those barbell back squats and barbell bench, hex bar deadlift, and some other accessories, whatever they program for the day. I was just coasting, I was still making improvements, I was getting stronger, but I didn't really give a fuck. I still just sort of half-assed it. I went 2 to 3 times a week and that's it. I didn't do any overtime, I don't care. I did what I had to do, I clocked in, I clocked out, and I went back to playing video games and fucking doing stupid shit. Eventually, I kind of tweaked my back, and I don't know exactly what I did, but I fucked it up big time right before spring break, and ironically it's spring break. So I guess 8 years ago, this is exactly when it happened. So it's kind of deadlifting, and so this is right after Tom Brady beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2018 playoffs in the title game. I'm a Chiefs fan, my family's from there. I remember I'm deadlifting, and I'm jokingly saying fuck Tom Brady as I'm deadlifting, and the ghost of Tom Brady fucks me in the ass, and he shatters my back into a million pieces. My back, I hear a pop or something, and it's just excruciating pain down the left side and right side of my entire back. So severe that I have to brace my core extremely tight just to even walk or stand. Any slight movement causes excruciating pain. I remember we had to do some dumbass finisher too, and it was some sort of push-ups or burpees or plank, and so it was not pleasant, but I got through it. I get home, I'm trying to figure my shit out. I don't go to school for the next 2 days because my back is that fucked. I literally can't even walk. A few years after that, I still had numbness and tingling on both sides of my back. It took me weeks to maybe get back to full capacity in the weight room. But maybe just a few nights after that, but it was over that spring break where I just couldn't sleep one night, and I just realized, I was man, I don't want to be a bitch anymore. I refuse to be made fun of by my peers, the butt of jokes, to have somebody walk into you, shoulder check you, and you being powerless to prevent somebody else from making a fool of you. I will be damned if that should ever happen to me again. I will never let somebody else ever decide my fate again. I'm gonna be the best version of myself, to where I decide my future, I decide my outcome, I'm in control of my own fate. I'm the master of my own fate, as they say, and it's the fucking truth. Sure, other people make decisions for you in your life. So you apply to college, you don't have control over whether the guy accepts you or not, but you have control over whether your GPA is good, you have extracurriculars, you wrote a good essay, you made a good impression, you reached out to people, got letters of recommendation, whatever the fuck. We can spin this in so many ways. You truly do have control over every aspect of your life. I feel like the gym gave me control. Fitness gave me power. Whereas before, I was powerless. Ever since that day, when I was thinking, man, I don't want to be a bitch anymore, I woke up, I was already awake, but I stood up, grabbed a marker, and I grabbed the back of this piece of paper, and I wrote on it, weights, Monday through Friday, don't be a bitch. We'll probably put it up on the screen. And that's been up on my ceiling ever since. I still see to the side a Mamba Mentality one. We put that one up a couple years later when Kobe died, RIP. I loved his mindset, hardest worker, man, and that's what everybody's just tried to be. And so the thought process behind that was, if I'm just bumming, I close my eyes, I look up, and every single day, I see weights, Monday through Friday, don't be a bitch. I'm going to see that every single day, every single time I wake up, every single time I go to bed, I'm going to see that image. And I'm reminded that I need to become more. So that was the process, at least mentally, to self-improvement through the gym. And so around then, I think I got close to the 135 mark by that point in time. So I think I just turned 14 as a freshman in high school. I'm now working 5 to 6 times a week, maybe on a Saturday if we had I think OPI, Opportunity for Personal Improvement, whoever wanted to show up to that. And I really just wanted to be somebody, but I loved the gym. I loved that feeling of accomplishment after a heavy-ass compound lift in particular, and I think that's what really drove me into powerlifting. We still keep working. I think I'm at the 205 mark, a little bit into my sophomore year on bench. And then COVID happens. COVID hits when I'm a sophomore in high school, so I believe around like March 13th, 2020 or something like that. That's when everything gets shut down, and I'm not able to go to the gym anymore because I go to the high school gym, and even commercial gyms are fucking closed at this point. But I was kind of plateaued at 205, and so I didn't realize it at the time. The idea of a deload, right, that actually helps you. I think it was a much needed rest because I didn't lift for like a week or two because I just didn't have access to anything. My mom had got me a bench press set up for Christmas in the basement. We started to hit the weights in the basement. We, meaning me, myself, and I. And I started benching again after some time off. And then I hit 225 for the first time in my basement during COVID. Kept working. That, honestly, I loved at the time. If COVID happened now, I'd fucking hate it because I wouldn't get the social interaction. But back then, I didn't enjoy talking to people. What I really loved was just, I loved lifting, and I loved playing video games. I loved eating food and watching YouTube. What better life could I have lived? That was my fucking shit back then. It was a great time. I got to play video games with my boys. I think during my sophomore year, I incorporated this, but I think more so my junior year as well. This is when I really started to get into the stupid shit, but it worked at the time. I don't recommend this for anybody, but I, at times, say I would go to school, I'd go to football practice, we'd lift, I'd bench there, hit my working sets with the football team. The lift ended at 5. My mom wouldn't arrive until maybe a little bit after that, so I was the last one there on the football team. I thought, well, fuck it, I might as well keep lifting. And so the track kids would come in. A couple of them knew me. One of them, Tyler, he asked me, he was like, hey, Luke, you bench yet? I was like, yeah. He's like, you want to bench? I was like, yeah, bro, let's fucking bench. So I benched like probably less than an hour after I already benched. He left. Then I went back to my home, had some food, and then in the basement, I'd be like, fuck it, man, let's hit some bench. And so I hit some more bench in my basement. So sometimes I would be benching like 2 to 3 times a day, often 3 times a fucking day. Some very high German volume type bullshit. I didn't know anything about what I was doing. The only thing that I knew was I wanted to push myself as hard as I can. And so that's literally all I did. I didn't look into rep schemes. I didn't look into percentages or RPE. I simply just pushed myself as hard as I could and reached failure on everything that I did. And tried to like keep increasing that weight, maybe 2 to 5 pounds whenever I could. So through that, I eventually got to, say, 310 my senior year of high school on bench, maybe 305. And I remember I was really trying to hit 315 right before we graduated. I had a defensive back coach, and he also was my PE teacher. A really great man. I'm getting a little bit teary-eyed even thinking about him. He's a great man. His name was Jimmy Russell. I didn't always have the best father figures in my life growing up. My mom pretty much raised me solely, I would say. He was a really good father figure. You know, sometimes people find those through coaches, and that was exactly what it was for me. You know, I always wanted the approval of this guy. And so he had a buzz cut, and he was a very stoic dude. He did not talk much at all. And so I talked my jaw off trying to get his attention and trying to gain his favor and gain his approval and get him to laugh. And the thing with him is he would never ever laugh, he'd never crack a smile, he wouldn't say shit, he'd always have that blank expression. So he always looked super intimidating. But me and him got close my senior year, and I feel like I kind of broke through to him, and I got a relationship with him going. And I would get him to laugh, I'd get him to smile, and that just meant the world to me. I remember I would curse, I don't give a fuck, I curse like a sailor, my mom cursed like a sailor too. But he was just such a good man. I don't agree with what he was saying, but I love the thought process behind it. Like there was one time, he heard me cursing in the football line, and I said a swear word, and he came up to me, he's like, Luke, do people curse like that at home? And I told him, I was like, yeah. Every single fucking day, dude. Every sentence. I think he was kind of taken aback by that. He said, well, all you can do is just try and do better for yourself. And I don't give a fuck about cursing. But that life lesson in general, try and do better than those who came before you in every regard. Say you were treated like shit by parents, friends, relationship, the female, right? Or the fucking boyfriend. Don't continue that cycle of bullshit. Be better, right? Don't be sorry, as Kratos said, be fucking better, man. Be fucking better. I tried to hit 315 on that last day of school, and I got it right here to lockout. So close, I couldn't finish the lockout. We'll put it in right here. I was so upset. I always wanted to... He told me to email him when I hit it and send him the video. And I never sent him the video. And so I think for this video, I'm actually going to try and send it to him. And so we'll hopefully add this to the end of the video, and we'll get a nice moment. The end of my senior year was kind of dog shit. The summer was one of the worst experiences of my life. I'm not going to go into crazy detail. I had a shitty ass injury. I had really bad COVID. So I had a really fucked up heart condition to where I had a few holes in my heart. I'd go into SVT, meaning that my heart rate would go up to 260 beats a minute sometimes. I'd lose my vision. I'd get even sweatier. It was fucking bad. I'd get dizzy. I feel like shit. And so if I lived a life of fat fuckery and wasn't as healthy as I am, and if I was maybe 20 years old and a little bit more overweight and active, I probably would have been fucking cooked. With that condition that I kept thugging out, combined with COVID, which has a predisposition to those with heart issues to enlarge your heart, and for me, cause high risk of a heart attack. That COVID was fucking me up. It felt like Indiana Jones was squeezing my heart, just like how he ripped that dude's heart out in Indiana Jones. It felt like that exact same moment where he was like squeezing my heart every 2 seconds. Every time I took a breath, inhaled, I was just getting fucking raped. And so that was ass. I was bedridden for like a month. I couldn't lift. I could barely even walk, right? And so my only exercise was walking up and down the hallway maybe 8 times a day. I'm sitting on my ass the rest of the time. I watched some Anthony Montello videos, and those really motivated me and wanted me to get even further into fitness, not just the strength side, but also the aesthetics. So shout out Anthony. I also met you at the Arnold this past weekend. Love you, bro. You're a huge inspiration. I hope to be there with you, alongside you one day. Maybe make a video. That'd be awesome. Not yet, because I know I don't have anything to offer, but I will, motherfucker. I will. The worst thing that sucks about moments like those is it's really demoralizing, and especially when you come back, your progress is fucked, right? You could feel yourself getting weaker. You could feel your muscles shrinking, atrophy. All you can do is do the best you can at that moment in time. And so at that moment in time, the best I could do was walk up and down that hallway 8 fucking times a day. That's it. And so I bet you what, I became the best fucking walker up and down that hallway 8 times a day. And then eventually, come week 4, I get back in the gym and my strength is fucked. And that can be really demoralizing, right? Like I'm failing like sets of weight that I would normally hit as a warm-up. But you cannot be discouraged by that. It's easy to be taken aback by that. However, I'm now taking another step in the right direction, right? If I get down on myself, what the fuck's that gonna do? All I can do is keep taking these steps and doing the best I can do, which is hit this set. And next week, I'm gonna be stronger for it. The week after, I'm gonna get stronger for it. And maybe the next week, I'll be back where I was. Eventually, we get back to where we were, come college. I moved to ISU, meet some of my buddies. I tried 315 a few times. I get spanked because I don't really have a training program anymore. I'm just kind of just trying shit. I was tired of fucking attempting 315 and not hitting it, so I decided I was literally going to do heavy triples at least once a week for an entire month straight, and I would hit 405, or I'd hit 315 at the end of the month. So what I did for an entire month straight was I did as heavy of triples as I could do. From what I recall, I believe it was 290, maybe 295. And I did those for 3x3 for an entire month straight. Maybe I didn't start with that at the start of the month, but I progressively overloaded each week. So maybe a 2.5 to a 5. So say I started at 275 for 3, I got to 295 for 3 at the end of the month. Week after, I did 315, and we'll play it here. It's the most ugly dog shit 315 rep of your life. Hella hip thrust, my fucking dick is out, but still hit that bitch. I'm trying to think of what I hit. I may have hit 325. I got a girlfriend, continue to progress, kind of got a little bit lazy. That relationship ended. Come summertime, one of my buddies, he had beat my PR that I hit a couple weeks prior, 335. He's my closest friend. And I remember he was talking shit. Day later, went to the gym, recorded myself, threw on 345, hit that bitch. This is where you really have to improvise and change your training. If you don't adapt, you will remain the same. So I know I haven't said much regarding training philosophy. This is where we get into that. So for me to get to 345, and honestly, didn't really require too much thinking except for time and just consistency. I didn't hit another PR until over a year later. So I went an entire year stuck at 345. Part of that though was me switching into the powerlifting realm, getting my feet flat on the bench or on the floor rather than having my toes up and closer to me, which gave me more leg drive and more momentum. I also kept my butt on the bench, and I started to incorporate pauses on every single set that I did. So I completely refined my technique, and it made my shit way harder. So that was part of it, but I also just didn't adapt with training wise. I would try and throw on 315 once, if not twice a week, try and hit that bitch for 2 or 3, and then we'll maybe try to max out again next week. Like, you can only throw shit at the wall for so long and it work. Eventually you have to add some sort of like thinking or like some sort of thought to your training. You can make it far by just working hard and busting your ass, but eventually you have to use your brain a little bit. I heard of this cat, Joe Borenstein. Met you at the Arnold as well this past weekend. Before I threw in his shit, so before Joe Borenstein, I was an intern at NIU for their strength and conditioning program, and so I saw some of their philosophies and I straight up applied them. I used Prilipin's chart, posted here. I made my first ever 4-week program, my first ever block, and I progressed to a 1 rep max. I will post the percentages here. Not that this is a copy and paste will work for you, but this is what I did. I hit 365. So I tried 375. I don't think I got it. And I was like, damn, all right, this shit worked. And so then I was really into researching as much content as I can, and I saw Joe Borenstein. He popped up on my screen. Shout out Joe. I just thought I'd shoot my shot and DM him. And so I asked him so many questions about his training, his programming, weights, percentages, RPE, how he does it, structure of the block, everything. And I will give him all his flowers. He was 100% forthright. He didn't try to withhold any information. He responded to some random dude in his DMs and gave him all the information. So Joe, respect the shit out of you, bro. And it was also awesome meeting you with Arnold. We had a great combo. He fucked me up in that grip strength test though. So once that month ended, when I hit 365, I incorporated some of Joe's training, right? Some of his philosophy. He benches 4 times a week. I didn't want to jump from 2 to 4 because that's fucking stupid. So I went from 2 to 3. So I started benching 3 times a week. And crazy thought, I started to not do the same thing over and over again, because what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, yet expecting a different result. So instead of me throwing 315 on the bar every day and trying to hit it, what I did was on Monday, my first bench day of the week, I'm going to incorporate close grip bench, because I go max grip. I go as wide as I can, using a lot of my shoulders, a lot of my chest, but not necessarily as much my triceps. So on Monday, I worked exclusively close grip. I didn't touch my normal bench. On Thursday, my second bench day, I incorporated 3-second pauses on the bottom position. So I'd bring it down, 3, 2, 1, up. Progressed both of those over the course of a month, while also having an SBD day on Saturday, where I'd have my third bench day technically, and it would also be my heaviest day of the week for all 3 lifts. So I wasn't necessarily trying to push as much weight as I could on Monday, Thursday, but I still progressed the shit out of them, and by week 4, that was when it was heaviest. So my camera diet is plugged in currently, so that's why our angle is slightly different. This is actually my first belt, by the way, so I haven't hung up on the wall. It's just dope as fuck. Anyways, let's get back to it. Week 1 is typically where you would have that lighter week, right? Where we're working on technical improvements that we're making, and maybe getting acclimated to the new lift, new technique. 4 is sort of where we're gonna go the heaviest of that 4-week structure. That doesn't have to be a 1-rep max. That can be maybe a 3-rep max, or a 5-rep, or a 2-rep, or a 4-rep. It doesn't even have to be a max. It can just be the highest load of those 4 weeks though. Weeks 2 and 3 is in the middle, right? So I'm working my way up to that pinnacle week 4. Then maybe I'll do a slight dip and then go back up. Week B, Joe Bornstein, man, he put me onto that. And I started to write out basically these percentages. I'll post these here. He sort of proctored me through these sort of thing. I didn't see any progress on my squat or deadlift. If anything, I think it kind of went backwards. I probably fucked the numbers up on those two, I'm not gonna lie. But my bench definitely shot the fuck up. So maybe disregard for squat and deadlift as of right now, but your bench, definitely take notes. Didn't hit anything that first month, but that was because instead of those close grip, I was originally doing, I think, 3-second eccentric, and that's nothing new for me. I've already have a slow eccentric, so I wasn't working anything that I was bad at. I was just simply making a strength to strength. What the fuck does that do? Second month, the new block, so week 5, I decided, okay, I'm gonna throw in the close grip. So I think that was what changed my entire bench game. On bench, right, on that Saturday, on that heavy ass day, the entire month we are doing strictly sets of 3, right? That's what I did for that first month. And then on those other 2 days, those variation days where we work on a weak point, say I'll go for exclusively 5 reps. And I'm continually progressing my way upwards in load that entire month, and to the point of where that week 4 should be that last rep, I don't have anything left in the tank. Month 2, block 2, we continue to build off the previous month. We adjust, we adapt. Some things sometimes just don't work in training, right? But the only thing you can do is adjust. We can't just give up. Sometimes something has to go wrong in order for us to learn and improve and become better. So I threw in the close grip. I changed the percentages up a little bit. So now I was going for 4 reps on my close grip and my 3-second pause days. And I continue to progress on those. Come week 4, hit a monster PR, albeit on a fat pad the first time, but still. I hit 385 for 2. My goal was fucking 345 for 2. I remember the prior week in week 3, the goal was I think 330 to 340, and I threw the 2.5 on because I was like, come on bro, I'm gonna hit that shit. So I threw on 340, I hit it for 2, I was like, hell yeah. So I think the goal was only like 350 for 2, right? Maybe 360, and I smoked 360. It moved easy. So then I went up, I think 370. I smoked that. I was like, dude, toss on 385, bro. So I hit it, and it looked fucking great. And I feel like I could have hit 405 that day even sooner than I originally did. That next month, we're like, okay, well, this is really working for bench. Now we know what works, right? I'm gonna do the same thing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Eventually you have to, but right as of that point, I didn't see anything going wrong, so I was like, fuck it, let's run it. And so I kept running it, and we kept the same thing, except now on that SBD day, that Saturday, I went for a 1 rep, and then on my 2 variation days, I went for a 3 rep. And so I continued to progress. I was still doing close grip, I was still doing my 3-second pause, and then come week 4, I was able to hit 405. And so I attribute that mainly to changing my shit up. I went an entire year of just throwing shit at the wall, and I didn't improve. I went an entire year of trying random shit and doing the same thing, trying to throw as much weight as I could on, instead of maybe week 1, let me go a little bit lighter. Let me work on some things. Maybe let me change the variation, the technique that I'm doing to maybe improve my weak points, right? My triceps, which are maybe lacking in size and strength compared to the rest of my upper body. Maybe I should improve that. Maybe that'll help my bench. Maybe let me change up my technique, my foot placement, my wedging, my arch, so I can get less range of motion, and maybe I can bump my finger out one more finger so I can get that max grip, so I can get even less range of motion but also more shoulders. Through these changes, I was able to hit 405 here. My butt came up, I don't give a fuck. I can do that shit if I worked up to it correctly without my butt coming up. And I feel like on that day, I could have just locked in and my butt not coming up and I would have hit the weight. That was dope. Yeah, man. That's really it. I'm just a story, man. I'm just a story of the process. Like, I was the worst fucking player in my high school, in my middle school. I was the most unathletic, most unnaturally talented, the most skinny, the most fucking stupid. I was not gifted in any way. But what I did have was the thought process, right? Of, I'm gonna outwork my peers. Sure, they can be stronger than me right now, but I'm gonna keep working, and maybe a few years down the road, it'll pay off. And so now those same people who gave me shit 8 years ago are the same ones in my Instagram comment section on my 405 bench telling me, good job, bro. You're a fucking beast, bro. I always knew you could do it. How the fuck did you do that? No way. You're juicing. But that's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about. So that was the story. I attribute a lot of my success to negativity from others. It's just a constant driving force. Whenever you feel like you aren't enough, you elevate yourself to become enough. Don't get bitter, get better, man. So, appreciate y'all watching. If you got any questions, drop them down below and I'll try to address them. But appreciate y'all, man. Let's be great, baby.